If you're watching this video right now, you are not here by accident. You are here on divine assignment. God led you here because He wants to whisper something deep into your spirit, something your heart has been itching to hear. While you were crying behind closed doors, while you were breaking in silence, while you felt forgotten, abandoned, and overwhelmed, God was not distant. He was drafting a story so grand, so beautiful, so beyond your understanding, that if He showed it to you all at once, you wouldn't even believe it. You are not ordinary, you are chosen. And this video is your confirmation that the page is turning. A holy shift is coming. The sorrow, the delay, and the heartbreak, it was all leading to a greater glory. Heaven has been working behind the scenes, and now it's your time to see why it had to happen this way. So before we go deeper into this divine word, I want to ask you, I like this video, subscribe to this channel, help us reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers so we can continue to pour hope, healing, and head heaven's truth into more lives just like yours. Your tears were not wasted, they were seeds. And what's coming next is the story God wrote while you were weeping. Get ready. The next chapter will leave you in awe. There are moments in life when you cry and no one sees it. You pray and it feels like no one hears it. You keep showing up, but everything around you feels like it's falling apart. And you begin to wonder, God, where are you? Do you even see me? Do you even care? But I want to remind you today, while you were crying, God was not ignoring you. He was writing a story, and not just any story, a story so big, so breathtaking, so unimaginable, that if He told you now, you wouldn't believe it. See, we serve a God who works in silence. He doesn't always announce what He's about to do. Sometimes the darkest nights produce the brightest mornings. While you were wiping away your tears, He was arranging the right people, setting divine appointments, opening doors behind the scenes. You thought you were forgotten, but you were actually being prepared. You see, tears are not a sign of weakness. They're evidence of endurance. They mean you're still hoping. They mean you're still fighting. And heaven responds to tears soaked in faith. God never lets a single tear fall without a plan to redeem it. In the moment it feels like nothing's happening, you were crying because you lost the job, the relationship ended, the door closed, the health report came back bad, but that closed door didn't cancel the promise. That heartbreak didn't stop your destiny. It only redirected you toward the story God is still writing. That delay, it wasn't denial, it was divine. God's not trying to hurt you, He's trying to position you. What feels like a breakdown is often the setup for the breakthrough. The greater the pain, the greater the purpose. The deeper the valley, the stronger the foundation. Let me tell you something, God doesn't consult your current situation to determine your future. He speaks from the end and works backwards. You might be in a chapter of pain, but He already wrote the chapter of restoration. You might be walking through a scene of loneliness, but He already wrote the page of divine connections. The silence you experienced, that wasn't neglect, that was strategy. When God is quiet, that's when He's working the hardest. He hides His hand when He's preparing something that's about to blow your mind. So don't get discouraged by what you don't see. Just because the answer hasn't come yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. Heaven works on a schedule you can't see. But trust me, it's always on time. God knows what He's doing. He knows how much you cried. He knows how you almost gave up. He saw the nights you couldn't sleep, the mornings you didn't want to wake up. But through it all, He was writing. He was scripting something greater than the pain, something deeper than the loss, something eternal. You're not going to stay in this place of pain. You're not going to cry forever. The very things that broke you will become the platforms that build you. And one day you'll look back and realize those tears watered the soil of your destiny. What you thought was the end was only the beginning of something beautiful. The story God is writing for your life is bigger than the heartbreak. It's stronger than the disappointment. It's greater than the betrayal. And when God is done, you won't even recognize yourself. You may have cried through the night, but joy is coming in the morning. And when it comes, it will be pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Not because you earned it, but because God is faithful, because He never lets pain go unredeemed, because He's too good to let the story end in defeat. So keep going, keep trusting, keep wiping those tears with hope, because even now, right now, He's still writing. And what He's writing is a testimony too powerful to be silenced, a victory too big to be denied, and a destiny too great for you to imagine. When you cry, heaven doesn't turn away. When your heart breaks in silence, God leans in. Every tear you've ever cried, every moment you've been overwhelmed, every night you've spent wondering if things will ever change, none of it has gone unnoticed. You may think no one saw your pain, but God saw it all. And not only did He see it, He stored it. because God never wastes a tear. It may not feel like it at the time. In the middle of sorrow, pain feels pointless. Suffering feels random. You ask, what could possibly come from this? You look up, and it feels like the heavens are closed. You pray, but the silence is deafening. And you start to wonder if your tears even matter. But they do, because in God's hands, nothing is ever wasted. Not your heartbreak, not your disappointment, not your confusion, not even your questions. God takes the very things that make you feel weakest and uses them as the foundation for the greatest chapters of your life. He gathers your tears, not with indifference, but intention. Like a loving father, He bottles every drop, each one holding value in His eyes. That moment when you fell to your knees and not knowing how you'd make it through, God was there. When you wept over the loss, the betrayal, the rejection, the closed door, God didn't just see your tears. He was moved by them. And while you were breaking, He was building. While you were mourning, He was moving. While you were falling apart, He was holding every piece together behind the scenes. You see, we often look at tears as a sign of weakness. We think we're supposed to be strong, put together, fearless. But in the kingdom of God, tears are sacred. They are prayers that don't need words. They are evidence that you've held on, that you've cared deeply, and that you've endured more than most people will ever understand. And God honors that. He doesn't just wipe away your tears, He transforms them. What broke you today, He will use to bless someone tomorrow. The same pain that made you feel alone will one day become the story that makes others feel seen. Because God is a redeemer. He doesn't just bring you through it. He brings meaning out of it. When Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and thrown into prison, he must have cried more than once. He must have wondered where God was. But God was working. And years later, when Joseph stood in the palace, he realized that none of it had been wasted. Every moment of sorrow was part of a bigger plan. God used it to position him for a purpose far greater than he imagined. The same is true for you. Right now, you might be in the pit. You might be sitting in a place where tears feel like your only language. But don't judge the story too soon. Don't put a period where God has only placed a comma. Your tears are not the end. They are the beginning of something beautiful. You're being refined, not destroyed. You're being softened, not shattered. God is using this season to grow something deep inside of you that comfort never could. He's giving you strength, resilience, compassion, and wisdom, qualities that can only be forged in the fire. And one day, when you look back, you'll see that it was the tears that taught you how to trust. It was the pain that gave you a new level of purpose. It was the sorrow that pushed you to your knees and brought you into deeper intimacy with God. No, God never wastes a tear. He uses them as seeds, seeds that will bloom in the right season. You may not see the harvest yet, but it's coming. Every tear has watered the soil. Every cry has reached heaven. Every ache has been accounted for in the heart of your Creator. Don't give up in the middle. Don't quit when it's dark. Hold on, even if all you have left are your tears, because those tears are doing more than you realize. They're unlocking a new level of faith. They're pushing back spiritual walls. They're preparing the way for joy unspeakable. Because weeping may endure for a night, but joy, real, deep, lasting joy, is coming in the morning. Not just because things magically get better, but because the God who promised to never leave you is faithful to finish what He started in you. So lift your head. Let the tears fall if they need to. It doesn't mean you're losing. It means you're still here, still trusting, still believing. And that alone makes you victorious. The pain may have tried to silence you, but your tears have been speaking louder than you know. And God has been listening. One day, the very things that brought you to tears will be the reason you worship. The same mouth that trembled with sorrow will shout with praise. And the same hands that once clung to hope in desperation will rise in gratitude. So don't curse your tears. Don't hide them in shame. Let them fall as reminders that your story is not over. God is still writing, and when He's finished, you'll realize every tear was worth it. Every moment mattered, because your God is too faithful, too intentional, and too loving to ever waste even one. You were crying, but He was collecting. You were hurting, but He was healing. You were breaking, but He was building. God never wastes a tear. And because of that, you can rest assured something beautiful is coming from the very thing that once broke your heart. Sometimes what feels like a delay is really just divine design in disguise. You've been praying, hoping, waiting. You've done everything you know how to do. You've stayed faithful, stayed kind, stayed consistent. But still, the doors haven't opened. The opportunity hasn't come. The breakthrough you believed for hasn't arrived. And in the waiting, the enemy tries to whisper lies. You're forgotten. You've missed your moment. Nothing is ever going to change. But that's not the truth. The truth is you are not forgotten. You are being prepared. You haven't been left behind. You are being positioned. The delay isn't the end of the promise. It's a vital part of the process. When God makes you wait, He's not punishing you. He's protecting what He's preparing. He's arranging everything in such a way that when it comes, it's not just good, it's perfect. You see, we live in a world that celebrates instant results. We want fast answers, quick fixes, and overnight success. But God works in seasons, not seconds. His timing is deliberate. Every detail is calculated. What looks like a standstill to you is actually divine strategy. He's aligning hearts, setting up people, preparing places you haven't even seen yet. He's not just thinking about your now. He's planning your next 5, 10, 20 years. His vision for your life is so much bigger than your current frustration. Delay is not always denial. Sometimes it's the space where God builds your character. It's where He deepens your faith, strengthens your spirit, and matures your mindset. If God gave you everything too soon, it might crush you instead of bless you. You wouldn't be ready to carry it. You'd mishandle the very thing you prayed for. But when the time is right, when your heart is right, what was once delayed will show up right on schedule. Think about it. When a baby is growing in the womb, you can't rush the process. It takes time for bones to form, lungs to develop, the heart to beat strong enough. That delay is divine. If you try to force it early, the baby won't be ready for life. And it's the same with your destiny. You may feel like you're stuck in the waiting room, but really you're being developed in the secret place. Your strength is forming. Your wisdom is maturing. Your spirit is aligning with God's will. The Bible is full of people who had to wait. David was anointed king, but had to tend sheep and run from Saul for years before he wore the crown. Joseph had a dream, but he went through betrayal, slavery, and prison before the dream came true. Even Jesus waited 30 years before beginning his public ministry. And if they had to wait, so will you and I. But the wait doesn't mean you're losing. It means God is building something worth waiting for. Sometimes God delays not because you're not ready, but because the people around you aren't ready. The right connections, the right doors, the right timing, they all have to line up for your purpose to be fulfilled. And only God knows how to bring that together. While you're waiting, He's working on things you can't see. He's putting your name in conversations you're not even a part of yet. He's preparing favor in rooms you haven't stepped into. And when it's time, it will happen so fast you'll realize the delay was never a waste. It was divine setup. God also uses delay to draw you closer to Him. When everything happens fast, we can forget the one who made it happen. But in the waiting, we lean on Him more. We pray deeper. We listen closer. Our relationship with God becomes more than routine. It becomes real. And that's what He wants. Not just to bless you, but to walk with you. Maybe you're in a season right now where it feels like everything is standing still. Your prayers feel unanswered. Your dreams feel stalled. Your breakthrough seems far away. But don't give up. Don't let the enemy convince you that the delay means defeat. What God starts, He always finishes. And if He said it, He will do it. In His time, not yours. Keep trusting. Keep sowing. Keep showing up. Every day you stay faithful is a day closer to your miracle. Don't let impatience rob you of what God is preparing. Don't run ahead and settle for less just because you're tired of waiting. The story He's writing is too important. The blessing He's crafting is too specific. And the impact He's setting up is too big to be rushed. Sometimes the longer it takes, the greater the glory. What you've been waiting on won't just arrive. It will exceed your expectations. You won't just walk into a blessing. You'll walk into a season where everything starts aligning. You'll look back and realize that the delay wasn't wasted time. It was God's perfect time. So lift your head, dry your tears, take a deep breath. You're not forgotten. You're right where you're supposed to be. And at the appointed time, not a minute early or a second late, God will release what He promised. And when it comes, it'll be worth every moment you waited, because your delay was not a detour. It was divine design. There are moments in life when you feel like nothing makes sense. You've prayed, but the answer hasn't come. You've tried, but the door won't open. You've done everything you know how to do, yet the situation remains the same or gets worse. In those moments, confusion sets in. Frustration builds. You begin to wonder, why is this happening? Why hasn't God stepped in yet? But what you need to know deep in your heart is this: God sees what you can't yet understand. You are living in one chapter, but God is looking at the whole book. You're focused on today, but He's already in your tomorrow. What feels like a setback to you is part of a divine setup. What looks like rejection, you may actually be protection. Sometimes what we think is working against us is actually working for us. But in the middle of it, when we can't see the full picture, it's easy to lose perspective. You see, God's ways are higher than ours. His thoughts are greater. He doesn't just see your situation. He sees the ripple effects. He sees how one decision will affect not only you, but everyone connected to you. He sees how timing matters, how preparation matters, how every delay, every detour, every difficulty plays into a larger purpose. While you're asking Him to remove the storm, He's using the storm to strengthen your foundation. It's not that God doesn't hear your prayers. It's not that He's forgotten you. It's just that what He's doing is deeper than what you're asking. You're asking for relief, He's building resilience. You're asking for clarity, He's developing trust. You're asking for answers, He's writing a bigger story than you can comprehend. Think about it like this. If you were walking through a maze, all you could see are the walls in front of you. But God is above the maze. He sees the turns you need to take, the places you'll get stuck, the paths that lead to dead ends. He knows how to guide you even when you can't see the way. What feels like wandering is often divine leading. And just because you don't understand it now doesn't mean it won't make sense later. So many times in Scripture, people had to walk through seasons of confusion and uncertainty before they saw the purpose. Joseph didn't understand why he was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, and imprisoned. But years later, standing as the second most powerful man in Egypt, he could look back and say, what they meant for evil, God used for good. God had seen it all along. Joseph couldn't understand it then, but God did. Maybe you're like Joseph right now. You're in the middle of something that doesn't look fair, doesn't feel right, doesn't make sense. But just like Joseph, you serve a God who sees ahead. A God who works through every circumstance, no matter how painful, to bring about something purposeful. Your job is not to figure it all out. Your job is to trust that the one who sees the end from the beginning is leading you, even through what feels like chaos. Faith is not about having all the answers. Faith is trusting God when the answers don't come. It's believing that He knows what you don't, that He's protecting you from what you can't see, that He's working behind the scenes in ways your eyes can't perceive. You may not understand why the door closed, but maybe that door would have led you into something that looked like a blessing, but ended in heartbreak. Maybe the person who walked away was never meant to walk with you into your next season. Maybe the job you lost was only preparing you for the one God is lining up that you don't even know about yet. You can rest when you know He sees what you can't. You can be still when everything seems uncertain because you trust the one who is certain. Even in silence, God is active. Even in delay, He is strategic. Even in pain, He is present. What you don't understand today will one day become part of your testimony. One day, you'll look back and thank God that it didn't go your way. You'll thank Him for every closed door, every unanswered prayer, every no, because now you see why He did it. Sometimes understanding comes after the obedience. Sometimes the clarity doesn't show up until you've walked through the fire, made it through the trial, and come out on the other side. And when you do, you'll realize that God wasn't punishing you. He was protecting you. That delay wasn't a denial. It was divine alignment. That wilderness wasn't a waste. It was where you found your strength. So don't let the confusion make you bitter. Don't let the silence make you give up. Don't let what you can't understand make you doubt who God is. He is faithful and He is near. Just because you don't see Him working doesn't mean He isn't. Just because you don't understand it now doesn't mean you never will. Trust that your steps are ordered even when they feel out of sync. Trust that the same God who brought you through the last season is leading you through this one. Trust that He sees it all, every fear, every tear, every hope, every dream, and He's working it all together for your good. You may not understand now. You may feel lost, confused, or forgotten, but God sees what you can't, and what He sees, He's using. What He knows, He's working through. And when the time is right, it will all come together in a way that leaves you in awe. Keep walking, keep trusting. Because what's unclear today will become the confirmation of His goodness tomorrow. When life hits hard, when the heartbreak is deep, when the betrayal cuts you in places no one can see, your pain begins to speak loudly. It tells you that your future is over, that nothing good can come from this, that you've messed up too badly, fallen too far, waited too long. Pain has a way of trying to sit on the throne of your destiny, of trying to convince you that your best days are behind you. But let me remind you of something powerful. God doesn't consult your pain to decide your future. God doesn't take a poll from your past to determine what He can still do in your life. He doesn't look at the disappointments, the broken moments, the trauma, or the tears and say, well, that was too much now, I can't use you. No, he looks at your life through the lens of purpose, not pain. He sees not just where you are, but where you're going. And he speaks from a place of completion, even while you're still in the process. Pain is a real part of your journey, but it is not the final authority. It is not the author of your story. Your wounds may have a voice, but they do not have the last word. God does. And the beautiful thing about God is that he's not limited by your limitations. He's not shaken by what shook you. He's not discouraged by what discouraged you. He can use every scar, every tear, every moment of loss and still lead you into a future filled with peace, favor, and fulfillment. You might have gone through a season that brought you to your knees. You might be standing in the ashes of a relationship, a dream, or a chapter that didn't turn out the way you expected. But don't count yourself out. Don't make a permanent decision based on temporary pain, because God is still working. He's not done writing your story, and what he has ahead of you is not determined by what's behind you. Pain may have tried to label you, but God never calls you by your wounds. He calls you by your worth. He sees what's still inside of you even when life has tried to bury it. He sees the purpose under the rubble, the anointing under the ashes, the destiny under the disappointment. You may have been through the fire, but he's not intimidated by what you've lost. He knows how to breathe life back into dead places. He knows how to restore what was broken. And he knows how to turn what the enemy meant for evil into something that brings him glory. Sometimes we let pain define our identity. We start thinking things like, I'm too damaged, I failed too many times, I'll never be the same again. But what if that pain is not the end, the beginning? What if it's not disqualifying you, but qualifying you for something greater? God doesn't use perfect people. He uses the willing, the surrendered, the ones who have been through something and still choose to trust him anyway. Think about the people God used in Scripture. Moses was a murderer with a speech problem. David was overlooked and later made terrible mistakes. Paul persecuted Christians before he became one of the greatest voices of the gospel. None of them were disqualified by their past. None of them were canceled by their pain. In fact, it was often their pain that became the platform for their calling. Because God specializes in redemption. He doesn't erase the pain, he transforms it. What you're going through now may not make sense. You may feel like everything you built has crumbled, but don't confuse the chapter with the conclusion. Pain might be part of the story, but it is not the whole story. God is still turning pages. He's still moving in your life in ways you can't see. And if you just keep walking, just keep trusting, you'll see that what tried to destroy you will actually develop you. The most dangerous thing pain tries to do is make you stop. It convinces you to settle, to shut down, to accept a life smaller than the one God planned. But I want to tell you, don't stop dreaming. Don't stop believing, don't stop praying. Just because it hurt doesn't mean it's over. Just because it broke your heart doesn't mean God has abandoned you. In fact, the pain may be the evidence that you're on the brink of something greater. Pain is real, but so is purpose. And your pain cannot override God's promise. What he spoke over your life still stands. What he placed inside of you is still alive. The delay didn't cancel it. The betrayal didn't void it. The mistake didn't erase it. God doesn't change his mind because you had a moment of weakness. His plans are not that fragile. His grace is not that small. You may not be where you thought you'd be. You may be limping from the battle, but you're still standing. And that means there's still a future. There's still a reason. There's still something ahead of you that's worth fighting for. God is not finished. The same hands that allowed the breaking are the same hands that will bring the healing. So don't let pain define your path. Don't let the past dictate your pace. Don't let the enemy convince you that your story is over. Because God doesn't consult your pain to decide your future. He consults his purpose. He consults his promise. And he consults his perfect love for you, a love that never gives up, never walks away, and never fails. You may have been through the fire, but you're coming out refined. You may have walked through the storm, but you're coming out stronger. The future God has for you is still intact. The calling on your life is still active. The blessing is still on the way. And the pain that once tried to destroy you is about to become the evidence that God's power is real, his timing is perfect, and his love is unstoppable. There are some kinds of pain that words can't fully describe. Silent battles, private tears, deep wounds that no one else sees but God. The kind of pain that makes you question your worth, your direction, even your faith. And in the midst of it, you may be wondering, why does it hurt this much? Why did I have to go through all of this? But I want to remind you today, there is a connection between the depth of your pain and the height of your purpose. The more powerful the calling on your life, the more intense the pressure will be. The greater the assignment, the more painful the preparation. You don't go through deep pain without a divine reason. God never allows you to suffer just to watch you break. Every tear, every trial, every moment of loss, it's not just happening to you, it's happening for you. It's working something in you that success, comfort, and ease never could. We often see the pain, but we don't realize what it's birthing. We see the loss, but we don't see the legacy it's preparing. Sometimes your purpose has to be pressed out of you, and that pressure can feel overwhelming. But it's not pointless, it's prophetic. The crushing doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to release what's inside you that you didn't even know was there. Some of the most powerful people you'll ever meet have walked through the deepest valleys. They've been betrayed, they've been misunderstood, they've lost people dreams and time. But through it all, they came out with a fire that can't be put out. They came out with wisdom that can't be bought. They came out with a strength forged in the fire of affliction. And that's what God is doing in you. You're not going through this because you're weak. You're going through this because you're chosen. You're marked for something greater. And with great purpose comes great preparation. God is not only building the stage, He's building you for it. You can't carry great influence without having great integrity. You can't walk in great purpose without going through deep refinement. Pain has a way of revealing who you really are. It shows you what's in you. It brings to the surface the insecurities, the fears, the hidden places that still need healing. But God doesn't reveal those things to shame you. He reveals them to free you. He's not trying to harm you. He's trying to prepare you for what's next. Because the blessing He's about to release in your life requires a level of maturity and strength that only comes through fire. It might not make sense now. You might be in a season where it feels like everything is falling apart. But one day you'll look back and realize God wasn't breaking you, He was building you. He wasn't punishing you, He was positioning you. Every low moment was digging the foundation so that when He elevates you, you won't collapse under the weight of the blessing. The depth of your pain is not a sign that God has left you. It's a sign that He's working on something significant. The enemy doesn't fight people who aren't a threat. You're not under attack because you're losing. You're under attack because you're carrying something valuable. And the more intense the warfare, the more precious the purpose. Don't curse the season you're in. Don't despise the pain. It's uncomfortable. It's confusing, but it's necessary. You may be in a wilderness, but God is developing something in you that the next level will require. The same tears you cried in private are watering the seeds of your future. The same moments that felt like breaking points are becoming the turning points of your story. You may not have asked for this. You may not understand why it had to be this hard, but God does. He sees the full picture. He knows what's coming. And He knows exactly what kind of strength, resilience, and faith you'll need when the platform arrives. He's not just preparing the promise for you. He's preparing you for the promise. Don't compare your journey to anyone else's. Some people didn't have to go through what you did because their calling is not like yours. What God has for you is tailor-made. That's why your process has been unique. That's why the road has been rough. But that's also why your story will be different. Your testimony will carry power. Your voice will carry weight. Your anointing will carry depth. Because you've been through something and God is going to use every ounce of it. You're not broken beyond repair. You're being shaped for impact. You're not behind schedule. You're right on God's timeline. You didn't miss it. You're in the middle of it. And the pain you're feeling now is the evidence that something greater is being formed in you. Hold on to hope. Keep showing up. Keep praying, even through the tears. Keep walking, even when your legs shake. God is not finished. He's just getting started. And when the time is right, He will elevate you to a place that reflects the depth of what you've walked through. You may have been crushed, but you're still chosen. You may have been wounded, but you're still called. You may have cried in the night, but joy is coming in the morning. And when it comes, it will be so fulfilling, so overwhelming that you'll finally understand every ounce of pain was making room for the weight of your purpose. So don't give up now. There is greatness in you. There is destiny in you. And the pain you've endured is only proof of how powerful your future is. God is not done writing your story. And when He's finished, the height of your purpose will be a reflection of the depth of your pain. There are moments in life when it feels like everything has come crashing down. The dream died. The door slammed shut. The person you trusted walked away. You gave your all and still didn't work out the way you hoped. And in that quiet, painful place, it's easy to believe the lie, it's over. You whisper it to yourself in the middle of the night. You carry it like a weight on your shoulders. But I want you to hear this truth. Just because you thought it was over doesn't mean heaven did. You thought the story had ended, but heaven was just getting started. You see, our perspective is limited. We see the failure. We feel the heartbreak. We count the losses. But God sees beyond that. He sees what we can. While we're mourning we lost, He's preparing what's next. While we're thinking it's the end, He's already written the next chapter. And not just any chapter, a chapter filled with restoration, elevation, and redemption. God doesn't stop working just because something stopped working in your life. He doesn't quit on you when things fall apart. In fact, that's usually when He does His greatest work. In the ruins of what you thought would be permanent, God lays the foundation for something better. In the silence that follows a painful goodbye, God begins to whisper a new direction. He doesn't waste a thing, not your tears, not your time, not even your mistakes. Maybe you've had a season where you thought it was the end. You lost the job. You walked away from the relationship. The opportunity slipped through your hands. You prayed, but the door stayed closed. And you figured, this must be it. I missed my moment. Nothing good can come from this now. But what you didn't see was what heaven was putting in motion while you were grieving. Sometimes God lets something end so that something new can begin. He lets the door close because the next one will lead to a place you couldn't reach on your own. He lets certain people exit your life because their chapter in your story is done, and holding on to them would hold you back. It may hurt, it may feel unfair. But when God is getting ready to bless you, He removes everything that can't go with you. You may have felt abandoned, but you weren't alone. You may have felt defeated, but you weren't done. Heaven didn't walk away from your story when you hit the bottom. In fact, it leaned in closer. The same God who allowed it to happen already made provision for your comeback. The same God who permitted the loss has already planned the restoration. It's not over. Not with God, not with grace still flowing and breath still in your lungs. Sometimes it takes a break-in to reach a blessing. Sometimes it's in the ashes of what was that you find the foundation of what will be. You wouldn't be seeking God the way you are now if everything had gone the way you wanted. You wouldn't be as surrendered, as humble, as hungry if things had stayed comfortable. God used the breaking to bring you back to Him. He allowed the ending so you could meet Him at the beginning of something greater. You thought it was over, but God said, I'm just getting started. That dream you buried, He's about to resurrect it in a way that proves only He could have done it. That peace you lost, He's restoring it with a depth you never knew before. That confidence you let go of, He's rebuilding it not on the approval of others, but on the truth of who you are in Him. God is a master at comebacks. He steps into dead places and brings them to life. He takes what's broken and uses it as the very thing that lifts you higher. He's not intimidated by what you lost. He's not limited by your timeline. When heaven gets involved, things shift suddenly. Doors open that were once sealed. Opportunities appear that weren't even on your radar. And it all begins when you realize it wasn't over. It was a setup for something greater. Don't quit now. Don't let discouragement convince you that your story is finished. Don't believe the lie that it's too late. You're still breathing. That means God is still moving. He hasn't brought you this far to leave you. He hasn't allowed the fire to consume you. He's using it to refine you. What's ahead of you is not just restoration. It's multiplication. It's promotion. It's overflow. The latter will be greater than the former. Even when you can't see how, trust that God is making a way. Even when you don't feel strong enough, know that His strength is carrying you. Even when everything around you says it's over, remind yourself heaven hasn't spoken its final word. And when God speaks, dead things come to life. Lost things are found. Broken hearts are healed. Dreams are revived. So get your hope back. Get your faith back. Get your expectation back. This is not the end of your story. It's the turning point. Heaven is just getting started. What you thought would bury you is going to bless you. What you thought was the worst season of your life will be the testimony that carries someone else through theirs. Lift your head, wipe your tears, stand in faith again. Because the author of your story is still writing, and the next chapter is going to be more beautiful than you can imagine. What the enemy thought was your finish line, God is using as your launch pad. You thought it was over, but heaven was just getting started. There are seasons in life when it feels like heaven has gone quiet. You pray, but there's no answer. You cry out, but the silence only gets louder. You search for a sign, a whisper, anything that would let you know God is still near, but nothing comes. In those moments, it's easy to feel forgotten. It's tempting to believe that God has walked away or that you're being punished. But let me tell you something that will shift your perspective. God wasn't silent. He was strategic. Just because He wasn't speaking doesn't mean He wasn't working. Just because you couldn't hear Him doesn't mean He wasn't guiding. God's silence is not His absence. His quietness does not mean disinterest. Often when God seems the most silent, He is actually setting something in motion so divine, so profound, that if He told you too early, you wouldn't believe it. He knows how to move in the background while you're walking through confusion. He knows how to prepare things in secret so they are revealed at just the right moment. Sometimes silence is part of God's strategy to strengthen your faith, because faith is not built in the answers, it's built in the waiting. In the silence, you learn how to lean not on your own understanding, but to trust in the Lord with all your heart. You learn how to walk even when you don't see the road. You learn to believe even when the evidence doesn't agree with your hope. And it's in that sacred space between the promise and the fulfillment that God matures you, equips you, and draws you deeper into His purpose. If God answered every prayer immediately, we wouldn't need to develop spiritual endurance. If every door opened on our first knock, we wouldn't understand the value of patience. Sometimes the silence is what teaches you how to hold on to the vision, even when everything around you tells you to let go. Sometimes the quiet is what strengthens your spirit to carry the weight of the blessing that's coming. Think about Joseph in the Bible. After the dreams, after the betrayal, after the pit, Joseph found himself in a prison he didn't deserve. No voice from heaven, no angel in the night, just silence, years of silence. But while Joseph was in the prison, God was setting the stage in the palace. While Joseph was enduring isolation, God was orchestrating elevation. He wasn't being punished, He was being positioned. God was working behind the scenes so that when the time came, Joseph would be ready, the throne would be ready, and the nation would be saved. That's strategy. That's the power of a God who doesn't need to make noise to make moves. You might feel like you're in a silent season right now. Prayers seem unanswered. Doors aren't opening. Nothing is changing. But can I remind you, God is still in control. You don't need to hear thunder to know a storm is brewing. You don't need to see every piece to know the puzzle is coming together. When God goes quiet, it's often because He's preparing something bigger than you asked for. You thought He was ignoring you, but He was upgrading you. You thought He forgot the plan, but He was refining it. God doesn't rush. He's not limited by time. He's not pressured by human expectation. He moves with purpose. He waits for the perfect alignment. He allows silence not to discourage you, but to deepen you. Because if He gave you what you wanted when you wanted it, it might have destroyed you. But when He gives it in His timing, it blesses you and everyone connected to you. You may not see it now, but God's silence was strategic. While you were waiting, He was preparing the right people, the right timing, the right opportunity. While you were crying in private, He was building something in public that would soon carry your name. While you were wondering why it was taking so long, He was making sure it would last long, because He's not in the business of temporary relief. He's in the business of eternal impact. So don't let the silence fool you. Don't let the quiet cause you to question your calling. Don't let the stillness make you think the story is over. Your God is still moving. He's still writing. He's still working. And when He speaks again, it will be worth the wait. When He opens that door, it'll be the one you didn't even know to pray for. When He turns things around, you'll see why He had to be silent first, because it was never a delay, it was always design. Sometimes God hides the process so that the unveiling brings Him more glory. He lets you walk through the fire, but when you come out, you'll be stronger, purer, and more radiant than ever. He lets you wander through the wilderness, but when you reach the promise, you'll be grateful for every step. The silence wasn't wasted, it was purposeful, it was strategic, it was holy. So lift your head, take a deep breath, and trust again. What you thought was silence was actually strategy. What you thought was distance was divine protection. What you thought was being overlooked was God preserving you for the right moment. And when that moment comes, everything that was quiet will suddenly make sense. Every unanswered prayer will echo with purpose. Every tear will shine with glory. God wasn't silent to hurt you. He was silent to help you. Because when He finally speaks, moves, and opens that door, it will all be more than you ever imagined. His silence was never the end of the story. It was the setup for your greatest chapter yet. Your past may be filled with scars. You've walked through seasons that broke your heart, moments that shattered your expectations, and battles that left you questioning your worth. The pain you've endured might still echo in your soul, whispering lies that your best days are behind you. But I came to tell you something today that will shift your vision and reignite your hope. Your future is bigger than your past wounds. Those wounds didn't disqualify you. They deepened you. They weren't meant to destroy you. They were allowed to develop something in you that comfort never could. The pain you experienced was real. God saw every tear, heard every silent prayer, and felt every weight you carried in the dark. But even as you were hurting, God was already planning a healing that would outshine the pain. He wasn't ignoring you. He was preparing you. He wasn't punishing you. He was positioning you. The enemy may have meant it for evil, but God is turning it for good. Too many people live defined by what they've been through. They walk around carrying shame, regret, and trauma like heavy chains, believing the lie that what happened to them has permanently marked them. But your identity is not found in your pain. It's found in your purpose. You are not what happened to you. You are not the betrayal, the abuse, the loss, or the mistake. You are who God says you are, and He says you are chosen, redeemed, restored, and destined for greatness. God never intended for your past to be the ceiling of your life. He designed it to be the foundation. What you thought would bury you will actually build you. What you thought disqualified you is the very thing God will use to elevate you. Those wounds that once made you feel weak, God will turn them into windows that let His glory shine through. People will look at you and see not your pain, but God's power. They'll see a testimony that says, if God could do it for them, He can do it for me. The enemy wants you stuck in the past because he knows your future is dangerous. He wants you rehearsing the pain, reliving the failure, and replaying the heartbreak because as long as you're looking back, you won't move forward. But God is calling you to shift your focus. The time has come to stop staring at closed doors and start walking through the ones God is opening. The time has come to stop magnifying your wounds and start magnifying your God. Yes, it hurt. Yes, you didn't deserve it. Yes, it set you back. But it didn't stop your destiny. It didn't cancel your calling. God still has plans for your life, and they're bigger than anything you've seen yet. His word says He will restore the years the enemy stole. That means not only will He heal what was broken, but He'll repay what was lost. He's not just trying to bring you back to where you were. He's trying to take you beyond anything you ever imagined. You may feel like too much time has passed. You may think you've missed your moment. But let me remind you, God is the Redeemer of time. He can do in 1 year what you couldn't do in 10. He can open doors no man can shut. He can bring opportunities that make up for all the disappointment. Don't let what's behind you make you forfeit what's ahead of you. Every painful chapter has a purpose. Every tear watered something in you. Every season of waiting stretched your faith. And now, God is getting ready to do something new, not a repeat of the past, not a lesser version of what you lost. Something new, something better, something beyond what you could ask, think, or imagine. He is the God of new beginnings. He doesn't recycle your pain, He resurrects your purpose. There's a version of you on the other side of healing that's stronger, wiser, and more anointed. The you that's coming will no longer bow to fear. The you that's rising won't be paralyzed by the past. God is bringing you into a future where your wounds become wisdom, where your scars become symbols of survival, and where your pain becomes a platform for God's power. You're not stuck. You're being shaped. You're not forgotten. You're being formed. The same God who brought you through that storm will now lead you into the sunrise. Don't settle where you got hurt. Don't build your life around brokenness. God didn't bring you this far to leave you in pieces. He's making all things new, including you. So get your hopes up. Lift your eyes, dust off the dreams you buried. Speak life over what you thought was finished, because your story isn't over. The pain didn't have the final word, God does, and His word is victory. His word is restoration. His word is overflow. Your past was real, but your future is greater. Your wounds were deep, but your calling is deeper. You may have been broken, but God is building something beautiful out of it. Your future is not limited by what hurt you. It's launched by what you survived. And the same God who kept you through it will carry you into the greatest days of your life. The past may have left a mark, but the future is drenched in promise. So don't look back in sorrow, look ahead in faith, because the best is still yet to come.